Attention soon turned overseas. Reports in Israeli media had claimed that Washington was considering constructing a temporary US military base on the Gaza border, a claim that set off speculation across the region. Journalists pressed for confirmation. The administration moved swiftly to shut the story down. The spokesperson explained, "I had a conversation directly with the reporter who wrote this article." And this article was based on a single piece of paper, an inquiry that somebody in the Department of Navy made about an idea that may happen in the future. He continued with visible frustration at the speed with which speculation had snowballed. This reporter deemed that as an official plan and ran with a story that the United States is looking into it. I checked with the highest levels of the United States federal government. This is not something the United States is interested in being engaged in. The denial was unequivocal. It's not something we are currently involved in right now that we will be funding, he said, adding that the president has been very clear. He doesn't want to see boots on the ground with respect to what's happening in the Middle East. The statement underscored an important distinction that while Washington supports Israel diplomatically and materially, there is currently no plan for direct US troop involvement in Gaza. Since the October 2025 ceasefire between Israel and Hamas began to unravel, US officials have repeatedly emphasized restraint. He went further, expressing irritation at media practices. Sometimes we see reporters take a piece of paper like this and just deem it as official policy, and sometimes that misleads people a little bit. Administration officials said the US remains focused on said consolidating a fragile peace plan brokered with Egyptian and Qatari mediation that has seen some progress in reopening humanitarian corridors and stabilizing ceasefire lines. We've made great peace. We've made great progress with the peace plan in Gaza, and we want to continue to see that move forward, he added, portraying the president as personally invested in keeping the region from sliding back into full-scale conflict. The comments appeared aimed at dampening rumors of a new US security presence and at the same time reassuring both regional partners and domestic audiences that Washington's approach would remain diplomatic, not military. The discussion moved next to intelligence sharing between the United States and the United Kingdom. One reporter asked how joint intelligence work, especially information flowing before major military operations, might be affected by what British officials had described as drunken traditions involving times, a phrase widely interpreted as a reference to certain security protocols within the British establishment. The response was firm but cautious. "I've seen that report," the spokesman said. "I'm familiar with the reporting, but we don't comment on intelligence matters, classified intelligence matters, as you know." The statement was brief but followed the well-worn rule of refusing to discuss active intelligence channels. Then, pivoting to another security concern, he reaffirmed the administration's aggressive stance against narco-terrorism. As for the Trump administration's position on our narco-terrorist campaign in the Caribbean, it is going to continue, he said. The president has made it very clear he's not going to allow terrorists to bring illegal drugs that kill American citizens into our great country. The reference was to ongoing US naval and air operations across the Caribbean basin, joint missions with Colombia, the Dominican Republic, and other partners aimed at cutting off cocaine and synthetic drug trafficking routes believed to fund armed groups linked to terrorism. The operations initiated during Trump's first term have continued into his second, and the administration regards them as a pillar of its hemispheric security policy. The spokesperson's answer was direct. The White House is committed to making that happen, yes. And we are currently exploring all legal options to get that done, he said, adding that while there was no firm timeline, the president made it clear he wants to make it happen. He explained that the president's team of economic advisors, led by Treasury and National Economic Council staff, was examining ways to implement the payments without congressional delay. When we have an update, we'll provide one, he said. The proposal, which the administration says is designed to stimulate middle-class spending after months of economic uncertainty, has faced skepticism in Congress. Some Republicans question its cost. Democrats have accused the White House of election year populism. Yet polls show that a majority of Americans support direct relief, particularly as inflation, though easing, continues to squeeze households. Earlier in 2025, Trump had floated a Doge dividend, a symbolic gesture linking cryptocurrency enthusiasm to economic growth. That plan never materialized. But the renewed push for tangible cash payments modeled on the pandemic-era stimulus checks suggests the administration is eager to demonstrate its commitment to America First economics in practical terms. The reply was emphatic and politically charged. Recipients missed their SNAP benefits because the Democrats shut the government down and they forced the administration to tap into a contingency fund that did not even fund the full entirety of this program, he said. And so then you had an unhinged judge who was trying to dictate from the bench what the executive branch has to pay for and where that money has to come from. That is judicial overreach at its finest. He described the episode as an example of what the administration sees as the judiciary encroaching on executive authority. We can't have the judicial branch telling the executive branch that we need to rob the Children Nutrition Fund, which is what this judge was trying to do to pay for SNAP benefits. That's completely inappropriate and it's unconstitutional, he said. The spokesperson added that the administration's position had since been proven right in court rulings supporting the executive's discretion over how to allocate limited funds during a shutdown. Now, the good news, he said, is again thanks to Republicans. And in several hours, President Trump will reopen. The government and SNAP recipients are going to receive their full benefits, which is what President Trump has always wanted to do. The comments offered a glimpse into the administration's broader philosophy, a distrust of judicial intervention and a belief that fiscal management, even during crises, should remain squarely under presidential authority. Economists, meanwhile, warned that the shutdown's effects on low-income families had been immediate and severe. Food banks across the country reported surging demand, and advocacy groups argued that contingency funds were insufficient. Yet supporters of the president hailed the reopening agreement as vindication that Republicans stood firm. The officials' repeated use of the term judicial overreach reflects a larger theme in Trump's governance, one that views courts not merely as legal arbiters, but as potential obstacles to executive action. Throughout his career, Trump has cast unelected judges as part of a bureaucracy resistant to change. In this briefing, that theme resurfaced with striking clarity when another journalist pressed why the administration had not simply used other reserve funds to protect families during the impasse. He doubled. We did tap into it. We did tap into the contingency fund. And then the judge told us, no, you have to get more money from a children's nutrition fund. And we felt that was judicial overreach. You shouldn't tell the president which fund he has to rob because the Democrats are holding the country hostage by shutting down the federal government. By reframing the dispute as one of constitutional principle rather than budget management, the White House sought to redirect blame away from itself. To its supporters, the argument resonated. The judiciary should not substitute its judgment for that of elected officials, especially in fiscal emergencies. Critics countered that the administration was effectively choosing politics over the poor. With the shutdown now ended, the focus has shifted to recovery, how fast federal employees can return to work, how soon benefits can resume, and how long it will take to repair the damage. But politically, the episode may have lasting consequences, reinforcing polarization even as the government reopens.